Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the CCA HM20. There we go. This is CCA's latest flagship hybrid, a 1+7. Before I actually get into the whole HM20 review, let me just kind of back up here a little bit and give you a little bit of a history of the flagship hybrids from CCA. It's always been kind of I would assume a company policy that they do the models of one and the other brand almost the same. Starting out with the CCA C12 from a few years back, it was in essence very similar to its KZ ZSX counterpart, and 1+5. In the C12 we had a 10mm dynamic driver, which was the one used as well in a few other models, hybrid models of theirs, the C10, and in a few hybrid models from KZ. And it was it was a typical KZ CCA sound of the time, a little bit more polished up when compared to its ZSX counterpart, not as I would say timbre aggressive in terms of that BA timbre, BA tonality. It was a little bit more polished up, but it was a V shape. It was fun, it was engaging, loads of bass. It used very simple BA units. We're talking about 30095s, there was one of those, and 4 custom mids, BA mids, which I'm assuming would probably be the 524s or something like that, along those lines. And like I said, it was a fun, engaging IEM. It was, it wasn't going to win any prizes in terms of its technicalities or anything of the sort, but it was fun, it was engaging. Anyway, that was the C12. The C12 was then substituted, and I apologize, I actually don't have it here, but it was then substituted by the CA16, which had in the KZ ZAX its counterpart, although there was a significant difference in that the CA16, it used a 7mm dynamic driver, and the ZAX used a 10mm dynamic driver. Besides that, the rest was basically the same: 30095s and 50024s in terms of the BAs, and both of them had an equally engaging sound. Personally, I prefer the ZAX. I actually think the ZAX went very much under the radar. And by under the radar, I mean it didn't get the deserved success, and I'm guessing it has to a certain extent to do with the fact that people sometimes are a little bit they hold back a little bit when we talk about certain KZ products. But anyway, be it the ZAX or be it the CA16 from CCA, they both had very interesting sounds. Mids were pretty well done, nice bass line, not excessive, perhaps a little bit bloated on the CA16, just a little bit not as refined as on here, and I'm guessing it was down to the fact that the 7mm driver just had to work a little bit harder. But otherwise, the rest of the sound was quite engaging, quite satisfying, and yeah, I mean, there was no real, well, there was definitely improvement in terms of technicalities, and timbre and tonality were superior to its previous counterparts, and also the BA tonality was kind of more subdued and controlled. But yeah, that was basically it. That then, the CA16 was then substituted by the CA16 Pro and the KZ ZAS, and those two already used the XUN driver, which was the newer generation dynamic driver that KZ had come up with, also using the DQ6, DQ6S, ZEX Pro, and the ZAS was a bit of a letdown, in the sense that There was some criticisms with regards to the ZAX being a little bit too bright, and so this was kind of an attempt to correct that. But that attempt, it kind of shut down the IM in that 2 to 3 4K area. It was way too subdued there, and kind of made it a little bit darker sounding, a little bit recessed, and which was a pity. And then the extension up top as well wasn't exactly the ideal to, let's say, compensate for the loads of bass that this actually had. And by loads I mean loads in a good way. It's a really nice IM in terms of its bass. So we've had a little bit of an up and down in terms of the tuning of these hybrid top of the line IEMs from CCA or KZ. We've had a beginning which was not good, not bad. It was just fun, a significant step up when we went on to the CA16, and then a regress when going to the CA16 Pro or the ZAS. So when the HM20 arrived, and having looked at the specs of the HM20, because they basically share, the HM20 and the CA16 Pro, they basically share the same kind of hardware. There's 50024S 6 pieces which are handling the mids and the highs, and then there's a 30019 on each one of them as well, just the S variant on the HM20, which is the latest one. And then again the XUN driver. This is the 7th generation XUN driver, which I am assuming is the same generation driver that we find in the Lyra, and that we find also now in the newest KZ single DD, which will be released. KZ CCA, the CXS. Anyway, onto the HM20 in a little bit more detail. In terms of its cable, obviously, as you can see, it's not the KZ cable. It's actually a Yinyo cable that I'm using here. The shell is very, very small. Considering it's got these many drivers inside, it's actually quite small. And in fact, take here the ZAS just for the sake of comparison. Let me just pick up both the left sides so you can guys see. I mean, excuse me. If you can see there's a significant difference between the two of them. The ZAS or the CA16, which is exactly the same, and the HM20. The HM20 is very, very small by comparison. Well, very small. It's smaller. The HM20 does bring with that decrease in size a nicer fit, in my opinion. I like the way that it is able to fit nice and flush into my ear. And if there is any little attention, or I want to bring to everybody's knowledge, is the fact that the nozzle is a little bit short, and I did struggle a little bit to find the right tip to actually enable it to fit nicely. I'm using a BGVP, the tip here, the 08 series. It's got a open back faceplate, and it's open back. What did I notice of this implementation? Well, I covered it up, and I did notice just a little bit extra soundstage, but nothing. To be totally honest, it wasn't anything really major, because there's no sound that you can really perceive coming out from the back here. I'm assuming that little change in the soundstage or in the perceived sound is basically from the air being trapped or not being trapped, and that's it. But mentioning and going back to the soundstage, the soundstage of the HM20 is one of the things that really, really impressed me. The first time I heard it, straight away the sound that it was giving me was larger than I expected. It was a very big sound. It was very enveloping, very engaging in that aspect, and I was very surprised. It was the first time that putting aside the planars, obviously, but it was the first time that I actually heard a KZ or a CCA, and I was like, wow, this doesn't sound like I was expecting, because you have that kind of imprint already of what the sound is going to be like. And I was like, wow, this sounds really mature, this sounds really grown up. I mean, wow, impressive. I mean, it seems that they did their homework once again, and that's been a kind of a recurring thing lately with Casey, and I have to congratulate them, because well, since the CRA, the original one, that there's been definite signs of a desire to start tuning properly, and the CRA was definitely one of those. When the EDA came out, the EDA Trio, the balanced, in my opinion, is amazing. IM, the EDX Ultra, same thing. CRA Plus, same thing. Each one of them has slight differences, but noticeable enough for you to kind of say, okay, this one will probably suit this person better, that one better, and all of those single EDs have been absolutely amazing. Then with the AS16, which initially was criticized, oh, but you got to use an impedance adapter, blah blah blah. You know what? It sounds fantastic for a $60 IEM, which is 8 BAs aside. This thing is a beast. And now the HM20 follows those footsteps. I mean, fantastic sounding IEM. The bass is very sub-bass focused, and when I show you the graphs in a couple of minutes, you'll understand what I'm saying. The mid bass being, I'm not going to say the mid bass is scooped, but there are instances that you do notice that you would have liked just a little bit more impact of the mid bass, but nothing that I really can falter, and that sensation, I mean, also I guess you can say carries on or carries over to the mids to a certain extent, of that sensation of it feeling like it's a little bit, maybe scooped is not the best word that I should use, maybe a little bit too laid back, but it's this is me I'm guessing nitpicking and trying to really find a fault, because only in one or two songs that I really say, oh, okay, I would have liked a little bit more. For the majority of the time, this it did everything fine. It played my whole playlist beautifully. I mean, What You Gonna Do from Frank McComb, it played it like I like it to be played. One of the songs that I was quite impressed in listening to it was Don't Leave Me Lonely, a song by Mark Ronson and Yeba. I mean, you have to listen to that song on these things. You do. It's seriously, well, not only on this, but it's actually a song that's very it's a high energy song, and it actually shows, in my opinion, the ability of an IM being able to handle this high energy and being engaging and fun. Great song. I'll post it afterwards in the links so that you guys can check it out. Starlight Scene from Yellow, again, fantastic. The bass on this song is absolutely, I mean, the HM20 does it spot on. Yeah. In terms of the bass, well, we've always known that KZs have got good bass. Maybe sometimes a little bloated, sometimes a little, but in general, the KZ bass is good. If anything, it's just over. It's just over too much. It's just too much with regard with when you compare it to the rest of the spectrum. But the truth is, lately they've actually found a good balance where you get that KZ goodness in terms of the bass, that, and then it's still matched up nicely with the mids and with the highs. And again, here it's been done flawlessly. A song that I actually enjoyed listening to here, also quite well, or quite a bit, was Deeper from Pete Velasco. It's got a very nice bass line. I'll post this song as well so you guys can hear it, and you'll thoroughly. I'm sure you're gonna thoroughly enjoy it. Going on to the mids, it's got a, I wouldn't say it's a large pinna gain, but it's got a pinna gain of around 10 dBs, which picks it around 3K, and then it's got very much kind of that drop off, which is nice and gradual, kind of along the lines of Moondrops and Tin HiFi T2 DLC, HM Pro, Heart Mirror Pro, that kind of harmonish kind of, you know, mids and highs, and stuff like Twilight from Brian Simpson, Chemistry of Love from Michael. For everything, for me at least, was done really well. If I am going to fault anything, or maybe just call attention to anything, is occasionally, you could feel the BA timbre more than other times. It's there, it's BAs, you can sense that it's BAs, but it's for the majority of the time it's never offensive, at least for me, in considering this cost what it cost. I mean, $55 if I'm not mistaken, and even cheaper now during the 11/11 sales. You notice it, but it's never offensive in any way. Not on the level of the, I mean, no way near the level of the C12 or of the older, let's say, KZ CCA offerings. No way. But like I said, occasionally, like Euphoria from Jeff Bradshaw, you could notice a little bit that BA tonality coming through. But otherwise, like I said, everything was done really nicely. Highs, one of the songs that I like using to check out the high frequency abilities, Twilight from Brian Simpson, and again we have the same situation as in the mids. Occasionally you have one or two songs which maybe the highs are a little bit splashy, not as clean, not as refined, okay. But overall, really, really nice. Soundstage is, like as I mentioned in the beginning, perfect in my opinion. Spot on, really. I mean, spot on. Imaging again, detailed retrieval, nothing for me to complain about it. In terms of its technicalities, absolutely top marks there. With regards to its timbre and tonality, for the most part, except for those a few songs like I mentioned in the mids and in the highs, that maybe you do notice that timbre coming across a little bit more than you would prefer. I mean, for the price, the timbre and tonality, and considering what they've actually used inside here, which is very basic stuff. I mean, except for the dynamic driver, this XUN dynamic driver from KZ is an absolute beast of a driver. I really, and the more I listen to it, and the more I actually become acquainted with this driver, the more I come to realize that yes, it's nice to have all these fancy diaphragms and CNT and DLC and LCP and whatever else LFU, magnesium, blah 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 blah, but a good old-fashioned basic PET diaphragm, if done properly, if properly executed, can sound good. And that's the truth. I mean, KZ has proven that although they're using a better quality diaphragm on here, it's not a fancy diaphragm like you see on many other implementations, and it plays beautifully. It really plays beautifully. And if we trace this back to the CRA, like I was saying, amazing. The CRA was amazing. Even now, in the more recent single DDs, the Lyra, which I think it's probably using the same XUN or series driver in the HM20. The Lyra, this driver, wow! I mean, it plays so good, so good. Very clean. I mean, it's really, really good. I've actually retuned this one slightly to adjust it more to my liking, and I think if they had done it the way I've done it here, I think some people would have preferred it. The stock tuning of the Lyra can be a little bit too energetic at times, but it's not offensive or anything of the sort. I just prefer it the way that I've done it here. And like I say, the dynamic driver of the HM20, it shares its genes with this dynamic driver of the Lyra and a few other IEMs that KZ has been using this driver with, and it's the dynamic driver on here is beautiful. It's really, really good. And yeah, that's basically it with regards to the HM20 as compared to the IMs that I have in front of me here. And I mean, compared it to the C12, I mean, it's not even a comparison compared to the C12. The difference is day and night. The only area where the C12 can maybe compete in terms of quantity is in the bass. The rest is it's no competition, so not really even gonna spend too much time. Compared to the ZAS again, and when I say ZAS I mean CA16 Pro. Again, the HM20 is a far superior IM. There's no lack of any engagement in terms of the female vocals. There's nothing. It's plenty extension. Everything has been done very, very well. Technically, especially in the technical department, it just eats the ZAS alive. And the C16 Pro. I mean, there's no competition. With regards to the older CA16, it's also again the same situation. It repeats itself as in the ZAS and CA16 Pro. But funny enough, compared to the ZAX, this is actually, like I said, this I think went unnoticed, unfortunately. But the HM20 compared to this, it is better. Yes, it is better tuned. Definitely, you noticed it. But this is probably one of the few of the older generation ones that actually is able to give the HM20 a bit of a fight, and you do see its qualities in many instances. The mids especially are the ones that surprise me how well they actually are. They can keep up with the HM20, especially when you consider they don't have the same type of polished. They're not as well. How can I say, done. Sorry about this. So yeah, that's the ZX. Compared to the Lyra, I just got the Lyra, yeah, for the fact that it just has, you listen to the dynamic driver only, or you try to isolate the dynamic driver only, sorry, and you can feel that there's a commonality, yeah, definitely a commonality. And then I've also got, yeah, the AS16, and I've got, yeah, the SD5. I'll go with the SD5 first. Why the SD5? Well, simple, because it's for me it was one of the recs, or the main rec for a hybrid at this price bracket of $60, $50 to $70. And the HM20 is able to actually, I'm not going to say the HM20 beats the SD5 outright, and it doesn't beat the SD5 outright. It beats it in many aspects, especially in the way that it's able to do its mids and highs. It's more polished, it's more mature than the SD5. The SD5 will probably be more satisfying for those that want a little bit more of a high energy presentation in that part of the spectrum. So for those, I would still say that the SD5 will be the one to go for. But if you want a more chilled out playback and done with a higher quality, then definitely the HM20 is the one to go for. Also, the highs of the HM20 are again more polished, not as splashy as compared to the SD5. Although I never found the SD5 to be offensive in any manner, because I always try and look at things for what they are in terms of the price that they have. And finally, compared to the AS16, the AS16 is again another IM that I think hasn't been getting the deserved love that it should be getting. My apologies. It's not the fact that it uses or that it requires an impedance adapter that I think should be a problem. because even without it, I'm guessing yes, you can you won't you can live with it. It's not going to be, oh my god, it doesn't play music properly and so horrible. And no, obviously with the impetus adapter, in my opinion and for my personal taste and for what I like, I think it helps out a lot, and it makes the pin again not have that funny bump that it has, and it just cleans out the whole presentation as compared to the HM20. Yes, this is all BA, that's BA and high and a DD, but there's a lot of similarities between the two of them. I'm not gonna say one is better than the other, okay, but there's a lot of similarities. The one thing that surprises me a lot about the HM20 when I compare it to the AS is that the fact in the AS we're using, let's say, a more upscale formula for the implementation of the BAs. We're having the 29689 for the mids, we're having 31736s for the highs, which when compared to the 50060 sorry, the 50024s and the 3019s of the HM20, this is these are better BAs to be used. Okay, they are more refined, they're more polished, they are a step above. And the fact that the HM20 is capable of actually reproducing what it does and do it so well, you know, is quite impressive. The biggest difference that you will notice between the two of them is that the BA timbre here, or that tonality here, is a little bit less than over there, and it's just down to the fact that the BA is used of better quality in the sense of the model that's being used. Again, please keep in mind this is not huge differences. No, it's not huge differences, but there is a difference. Yeah, there is a little bit of a difference in terms of the bass. When I compare these two, I would say the bass here is sub bass and ultimate atmosphere of the bass. The HM20 is better, but there's a little bit more mid bass impact on the AS16. So yes, a little bit more mid bass there than I have here. Sub bass and overall atmosphere texture. The HM, you notice it's DD, and so it's not that it's better. You notice it. That's it. That the bass there is just a tad more, just a tad quicker as well. All right, mids. I prefer the mids on the HM20, to be honest, simply because they match better with the bass over here. Over here, the whole sound is more clinical. It's more. It's colder. Okay, over here the warmth of the DD conveys or passes through into the mids, and it just makes the mids here sound nicer. And in terms of the highs as well, the same situation. But again, it's not fair to say that one is better than the other or whatever. It isn't. It's not. Technicalities. I'm gonna give the technicalities as well over here. Although I will say that there are instances where the AS16 does seem a little bit more resolving and capable of having a little bit more detailed retrieval, precisely because of that coldness, I would say. Look, it's all minor things. It's nothing dramatically, no, you will pick up on it on specific songs, and I'm guessing depending on what genre you want, you'll pick up on more. What genre you use, you will probably pick up on those differences more than others. In terms of music that these are capable of playing, honestly, they seem pretty versatile. I really didn't find anything that it didn't do well. I don't listen to a lot of rock, so I can't really say that I enjoyed listening to rock in them or didn't enjoy it. It was fine. It didn't offend me in any manner. Classic music as well was fine. Once again, it didn't really offend me. The genres that I listen to, which is more R&B, pop, some jazz, all of those genres, which are the ones that I usually listen to, it did a fantastic job. And I can wholeheartedly say, you know, if you do not have a hybrid at this price point and you are looking for a nice hybrid capable of playing well, get it. I'm sure that with the 1111 sales, you'll be able to get this easily for $50. I'm almost positive of that. Definitely go out and get it. It's really worth it. It's got a very well executed, mature tuning. It's well built. It fits well, looks good. I mean, the only flaw, only flaw is I would have liked KZ to have included a nicer cable, some more tips, those basic things. That's all. But again, not having that has allowed them to offer this at a crazy price. So yeah, it seems that the sheriff, as I called it when I did the review of the SD5, the sheriff not only has a good deputy, which is the ZS10 Pro X, but it seems that the sheriff got married and got married to one hell of a lady, the CCA HM20. She's the boss lady. She's the boss sheriff, definitely. Anyway, guys, I'll show you the graphs now. And as always, like and subscribe. Any questions, please feel free to ask. All right, you take care. Bye-bye. Hi guys, and welcome to the graph section of my HM20 review. This is the graph of the HM20 straight away, as you can see. Like I mentioned in the review, nice sub-bass focus, not as heavily noticeable as what the graph would lead us to believe. By close to 200 Hertz, it's almost, 300 Hertz, it's almost flat already, so nice way that it marries into the lower mids, no bleed at all. I mean, it's really nice. If anything, it would have been nice to have just a little bit more energy over here and then drop off again, but it's fine. Then pin again, peaking at close to 3K, that nice gradual descent, another peak at close to 8, which is coupler related and an extension. So in essence, when you look at this, it's nice. It's a nice graph. I mean, just for the sake of comparison, as I mentioned, this is the graph of, for example, the Moondrop. Where is it? Here we go. Moondrop. Okay, that's the graph of the Moondrop area. So you can see there's some kind of similarities in the way that things are done here. Obviously at different energy levels, but there's some similarities. Let me put another one that maybe will be more. Excuse me, I'm really sorry. Let me put the HD sound heart mirror. Where are we? HD sound. There we go. HD sound heart mirror Pro. There we go. Again, some similarities in the way that this whole area here is handled by one and the other, and then it's got that kind of harmonish feel to it. Another one still that I can show you is, for example, where is it? Yeah. There we go. Is this one here. There we go. That IM that's over there is the Sensibel with the mod that I've mentioned in a review that I just did a couple of days ago. So very similar result, as you can see. All right. Anyway, going back to the HM20, this is the graph of the original C12, and when you look at it, it's not a bad graph. It's not offensive, but yes, the C12 was not as polished up top here as the HM20 is. The bass was more bloated. It bled more into the mids, and the quality of the BAs and the way that the BA sound was handled here was a completely different quality. You noticed that there was that metallicness of the BA. So that's it. And it was then, I actually haven't got the graph here of the C16, but I do have the graph here of the C16 Pro. Yes, yeah, I do. It's this one. This is the graph of the C16 Pro, and much like its KZ counterpart, which was the ZAS, which I'll put now in a second up. Okay, that's the C16 Pro, and this is the ZAS. And much like the ZAS and the C16 Pro suffered from this dip here. Okay, you can see they're very, very similar. So it suffered from this dip here, which kind of took away a lot of the information, and it just closed down the IM. The bass was well done, and I mean it's an XUN driver as well. The bass was well done. It was just this lack of info here. If they had just managed to have at least kept this, a little bit more linear, the rest would have been, easier to digest. Let's put it that way. It's not that it was a bad sounding IM. No, it wasn't, but it just was a little bit darker sounding. Which, when you compare it to to the KZ, the ZAX. Give me 1 second, and I'll show it you now. Where is it? I believe it's no. Here we go. Okay, so when you compare it to the ZAX, it was a better tuned IM in that aspect, for a few reasons. First of all, well, the bass is basically the same on either one of them, but the one reason that makes the ZAX stand out over the ZAS and the CA16 Pro is, first of all, the peak is past 2Ks, which is good. It maintains the steadiness across this whole 2 to 7, 8K area. It's much more linear, which lets the sound be open and detailed. Okay, and then it's got also more extension past 10. So in my opinion, the ZAX was an IM that didn't really get much love, and it deserved it. And compared to the HM20, as I said in my review, there's a lot of similarities in the sound, because ultimately this difference here you don't really pick up on it unless the song has got a lot of rumble. Okay, the majority of times it's actually very similar. And over here as well, if there is a difference between the two, which obviously there is the fact that you notice that the marriage, the cohesiveness of the drivers in the HM20 has been more done in a more polished manner as compared to the ZAX. In the ZAX you notice more, there's BAs there. But overall, the ZAX is a fantastic IM, really a fantastic IM. And if you can still pick it up today, I would definitely recommend it. If you can pick it up for a good price, get it. Don't worry about it. The other one, which I mentioned as well in the review, and is my let's say my go-to hybrid at the moment at this price range, is the SD5. And let me just line it up here. And the SD5, there we go. Again, very similar bass, except for the sub bass where there's definitely more on the HM20. But everything, if you look at it, it's very, very, very nicely controlled and nicely within a tight window. 79 to 88, so everything's nicely kept within this window. Good energy here. There's a dip at 5, which is good, so you don't notice any sibilance, or you control that sibilance. Although sometimes in certain songs it does come across a little bit. Excuse me. But the difference between I found the two was that the HM20 just sounded more polished. That's it. It's not that it's bad, worse or better, or it's just slightly more polished with certain songs, and that's why I think that both of these are two safe rigs. The HM, if you want a little bit more of a laid back presentation, the SD5 if you want a little bit more of a forward presentation. Okay. And finally, compared to the AS16, where are we? There we go. Number 5. Just line it up. Here we go. Excuse me. And compared to the AS16, again, the bass seems, well, graphically wise, to be similar, and it is similar to a certain extent, although you do notice more of a mid-bass impact on the AS16 as compared to the HM20. And you do not notice that slight thinness or occasional thinness of the HM, as you don't notice this as much on the AS. If anything, the area where I would have liked things to have been done slightly different on the AS, which would have helped and would have made things just a little bit more open in terms of its overall presentation, is this area. I wish it was just a little bit more energetic, because if you actually look, it follows very much the curve of the HM20, so it's just a little bit more energy. Yeah, that's all that would have been needed, and the AS16, in my opinion, would have been an even better IM than what it is. And yeah, that's it, but guys, that's basically, in essence, that's what I wanted. I just wanted to show you compared to the Lyra, but the modified Lyra that I did, just for you guys to see. Okay, this is compared to the modified Lyra. Again, the bass, as you can see, very similar between the two, just at different energy levels, which, you know, leaves me to believe that it is probably the same XUN driver. And then the overall presentation, yeah, very smooth, very nice, dip at 5K roughly to, you know, counteract any sibilance tendencies or anything of the sort. Peak, coupler, and then some extension, not much past 10K, but it's fine, it's more than enough. The way the Lyra is here in this configuration, which compared to its stock format is a little bit different. I'll just put you the stock one. Excuse me, guys, this cough just doesn't want to go away. Let me just, there we go, that's the stock Lyra. And the stock Lyra, this extra energy that it has here, because the bass is just very similar, this extra energy here just shifts things to in a different way, in a different manner, and I personally like more the way that I've tuned the Lyra. I basically maintained the bass. I've just dropped a little bit mid bass and given it a little bit more on the sub bass, but not really significant the difference here. Here, yes, it is audible, although it graphically doesn't translate to a lot, but it is audible. Excuse me. And definitely here the difference is very audible and makes the Lyra much nicer. Anyway, guys, this is just a little extra I just wanted to share with you. As always, like and subscribe, any questions you might have, and yeah, CCA HM20, I definitely must get IM. That's my suggestion to you guys. Alright, anyway, take care, bye bye, see you.